The University of Missouri is home to numerous labs, but the Department of Human Development and Family Science, or HDFS, is perhaps one of the most extensive and historic that you can find. From education to research, HDFS focuses on the science of being human through interactions with family members, teachers, schools, peers, social media, and romantic partners. I'm Rachael Norden, and the holidays are here, ushering in joy for many and perhaps frustration for some. In this episode of Thinking Out Loud, I talk with Dr. Ashlie Lester, Associate Teaching Professor at HDFS, on how to manage expectations and ways we can avoid, or at the very least minimize, discourse with loved ones over the holiday season. So, let's tune in. Kind of teetering into the topic of family time and holidays, and not necessarily zeroing in on a conversation around conflict, but the holidays. We call them the holidays because there are so many different end-of-year holidays. Just to name a few, we've got Hanukkah, we've got Kwanzaa, we've got Christmas for the Christian for the Christian religion, and so all of these things coexist as we all celebrate them together. So as we look through the lens of these different religions and spiritualities and different approaches to family time and the holidays, how do you see those things show up during this time of year?
I think that's a really fantastic question. And I'm going to back up just a second and just say part of like the end of year, even New Year's, in New Year's Day, people get time off. There's an expectation from our culture that we spend time with family. There's an expectation that these are special days and we should do something special with them. And very often there's expectations around family and family time. And sometimes that's a really wonderful expectation. Sometimes we don't get to see our family all that often. And this is a time set aside. It's different from our regular everyday life, set aside that we could connect with our family. So it's ripe for high expectations. It's ripe for connection, like really meaningful, joyous connection with one another, but it also might mean it's ripe for conflict because if we have different expectations of how it should go or even what food we should serve, if people have different expectations, those can clash.
Sure, that makes sense. I experienced those kind of clashes in my own family, which is why I kind of chuckled at what should be served because we were always arguing over that. So on the topic of expectations, how would you suggest that during family time and in these more intimate relationships where sometimes boundaries and respect can sometimes be squandered by the concept of family as a whole, how do we communicate our expectations or adjust them based on what we're going through?
Yeah, I think first it starts with an understanding of ourselves. So taking a quiet moment before people arrive or before you travel or before you even make plans, think through ahead of time, what is it that I really want out of this experience? What is it that I really want? What is it that's actually most important in this experience? Is it the food? Is it that I take all my days off with this side of the family? Or is it instead that we have a moment of connection, that we have a good time together, we get to reminisce about grandma who died last year or whatever. How do you prioritize that stuff? What are your expectations exactly? Do you expect every dish to be homemade from scratch? Do you expect every present to be wrapped just perfectly and stamped great? Or what's really underneath all of it? And I think that can actually help us clarify and prioritize our time together. If it stresses you out to think about making every dish, then don't, or find a way of sharing those logistics and responsibilities with other people. So I think figuring out what is most meaningful to you will help you be deliberate with your time and prioritizing your time and your activities leading up to the event itself. It will also help prepare you to maybe have a conversation with folks ahead of time. If you're stressed out about hosting and shopping for everyone and doing all the food, then have a conversation well ahead of time with everyone coming and say, I'm getting stressed out about this. How about we make this a potluck? Yeah. Could we meet at a restaurant for this part and then come back to my place for charades? So is there a way, if the goal is connection and less about from scratch food, then find a way to connect. Sure. And kind of release some of those other kind of expectations that are sort of out there in the ether, like this is what it should be. We can eliminate that and instead focus on what do you want it to be.
As families and the concept of family has evolved over the years, how do you see communication and conflict changing? For example, a lot of families might be very spread out now because they've branched off. Mom and dad might have gotten a divorce as a child, and now you have children, and now there's a whole bunch of different branches and parts of your family, and maybe you don't have enough time to celebrate with everybody. Any advice or thoughts or wisdom that you might have toward managing a lot like that?
Yeah, I think that's a really important question. Families can be quite complex. Families are all over, as you say, and you have finite time. So I think, again, setting expectations for yourself, like what is really meaningful to me? How do I create those connections in the finite time that I have? And then setting, having conversations ahead of time with key people in your life. I see this too, not just with complex family systems, but also people who are in a new intimate relationship, maybe newly married people. They're bringing in their own individual family culture. Well, this is the way my mom always did it. This is the way my dad always did it. This is the way my grandma always did it. This is the way that this side of the family always did it. But now you're marrying those two and creating a new culture for yourself and for your own family of procreation. And that could just be you by yourself, or you and a partner, and you and some kids. Who knows? But when you are creating your own family culture, you need to think through, what's the stuff that I want to take from my family traditions? What's the stuff that I love about your family traditions? What's the meaning behind those things? And then how can we incorporate that? I'm going off subject just a little bit, but I think so. When you think about that, is it really important for you to be at your own house with your own kids or family, your chosen people, on a particular day, or is it okay to be somewhere else on that particular day? But I think if you need to have those conversations with those people who might expect different things of you. So if one side of the family is like, oh, you're not going to spend that day here, you're not going to spend your whole weekend here with us, having that conversation early so that they can plan and you can plan is really a service to everyone. And I think just when we have those conversations, which can be, we don't want to stress anyone out. We don't want to disappoint anyone. We want it to be a time of connection and joy. I think having a really clear reason for what you're doing can be very helpful. And then to listen and to ask questions with curiosity. I think it's important to say, for this moment in time with our family, we're gonna be at your house for a few hours after dinner. And then we're going to come back home. Or I think not this year. We can't see you this year for the holiday season, but we're going to come out during spring break and see you because I want this time with you. And I would rather have 2 full days with you than just a few hours when we're spread out so many places. So I think leading with what's good, leading with what's shared and what's similar. We both want to have a wonderful time together. We both want to have plenty of time to connect without lots of other distractions. That means it's going to be in maybe March and not in December.
Yeah, and I'm really appreciating all of the different words that you're using to describe this kind of communication and connection and expectation, that all of these things can sometimes feel like confrontation in certain situations. So to have these, what might be a harder conversation, maybe it's an easier conversation depending on the dynamics of any one person's given family, but to have those conversations on the earlier end of things before it could become more of a confrontation after everyone with these different expectations have made all sorts of different plans. And now it's December 15th and now you're having this conversation. So if we can have those conversations earlier, I can see how that would be beneficial. And one thing that you said that stuck out to me was the concept around tradition. It gave the message that tradition, it doesn't have to change, it can be built upon. And so that even if there's something that mom or dad or grandma did previously, maybe you can build on that in your own version and
and maybe your grandkids carry that on when you become grandma, and that you can build on these traditions and not necessarily keep them the same every year.
Yeah. And I think just a note about traditions, these are like the customs and the rituals that every family has around a particular moment. And that could be a holiday. It could be like another moment that's important to your family. But there are things like, what do we do on this day? What do we eat on this day? How do we dress on this day? So it's the performing of the importance of the day, and those traditions are going to vary by family. And it's actually these beautiful moments of connection because we imbue those things with meaning. So here's a silly example, but there's a dish that my grandma always made. We call it a cranberry salad dish. And of course, it's full of marshmallows and whipped cream. It's that kind of a salad, So we would do this cranberry salad, and it's not just delicious, but it's my grandma. And she's been gone now for a while. But every time we make it, I tell stories with my own kids about my grandma. And this is what she would do. And this is what she would put in it. And here was her, I would tell stories about her as I'm making it. So we imbue like our family history and our family identity and our family lore into this one dish. So it's not just the cranberry salad. It's our history and it's our identity. And the other thing that's really cool about that is I know that even though I am not going to be sitting around the same table as my cousins and all my aunts and uncles and even my own siblings on this particular day, I do know that this dish will be at everyone else's table spread across the country. And that is a really powerful connection that we all have and that we all share. So when I think about my own, I'm like, well, I have to have that cranberry dish. Like, I just have to. But some of the other things, less meaningful, less powerful, and then we incorporate something else. So those traditions are really beautiful. And there's lots of things we can do. Yeah. We know from research that shared time is really powerful for connection, and fun things are really powerful for connection. And the more we can connect and have fun together, have pleasurable experiences together, that actually makes conflict easier to manage, and it makes difficult conversations a little bit easier to have. So how can we imbue our season with fun? It could be novel. It could be cheap. What does your family like to do? Do you like to go on a walk? Do you like to watch a movie? Do you like to make up dumb games? And do you like to play charades? Do you like to play Pictionary? What are like easy ways of interjecting fun activities together that just make it fun and memorable, and maybe create a new tradition for your own family?
That was Dr. Ashlie Lester, Associate Teaching Professor at HDFS, on managing expectations and minimizing conflict with loved ones over the holiday season. If you'd like to learn more about HDFS and the work they do to bring families together all throughout the year, visit hdfs.missouri.edu. I'm Rachael Norden, wishing you a very happy holiday season. It's Thinking Out Loud from KBIA 91.3 FM.